The first time I left the United States for anything was to go to the Peace Corps. And I think part of the interesting thing about that was most people who are joining the Peace Corps have been planning on it their whole life. They've been doing research on it. They've really been preparing themselves to sort of culturally integrate and try this new experience. I joined the Peace Corps because I wanted to get out of Alaska and I wanted to see something new. I didn't really think about the fact that I wasn't going to a place that had a similar culture to ours. It didn't cross my mind. I was too busy, trying to pack extra pairs of underwear and 6 months worth of deodorant, and it just never really occurred to me that there was going to be a culture thing that was going to be involved with this travel as well. I think what was really exciting and really positive about the fact that I hadn't planned ahead at all for culture is that I had a blank slate. I didn't have any expectations about whether people were going to be friendly or not friendly. I didn't have any expectations about gender roles. I didn't have any expectations about food or about the way that people say hello or some of those subtle things that you start to understand once you're actually physically in a place. So when I got off the airplane in Turkmenistan, there were a few things that caught me off guard right away that I hadn't expected. It was hot, and all of the women there have their heads covered. They have scarves on. Because, culturally, again, that I wasn't really prepared for, that's sort of an appropriate way to style yourself. It's respectful. It's in sync with their religious practices. And then the other thing that caught me off guard is that as a woman, even a foreign woman, even someone who is wearing jeans and a backpack, who's very obviously out of place, you are expected to fill a certain role there. Gender roles, totally over my head. It never occurred to me that I could go somewhere where, as a woman, I was lesser, or at least that's what I was told culturally. Turkmenistan was a huge, huge shakeup to everything that I thought I knew. It's a Muslim country. The reality is, even though Turkmenistan has kind of a machismo, men are dominant culture, and it smells like diesel and cow poop. The people there are so nice and so welcoming, and I thought it was going to be sort of this exclusive thing as far as my coming from a very different faith background, coming from a very different cultural background, and instead it was the exact opposite. They were so welcoming and really were curious and wanted to know about where I came from and why I thought the way I did. And I think also they desperately wanted to share with me everything about their lives. They eat with their hands. They don't, they think eating with silverware is overrated. It's not that they think it's barbaric or that they think it's really great. It's just, why waste the time of having to wash all these dishes when you could just eat with your hands instead? And they eat out of a communal bowl. And so for me, coming there and sitting down to this meal for the first time, not only was I really not comfortable with the idea of eating with my hands in general, because we're having rice for dinner, and eating rice with your hands is really hard. But I thought it was really gross that we all had to eat out of the same bowl, because of course I was worried about germs and all kinds of silly American notions that went away after a while. You start to realize that sometimes just because it's the way that you do things in your culture doesn't necessarily mean it's the only way or the right way to do things. Even though I say I didn't go over to Turkmenistan with any preconceived notions, I think the reality is you have certain things ingrained in you culturally from your own upbringing that so strongly affect the lens that you see everything through, and you don't even know you're interpreting things a certain way. It just happens. It's like breathing. What I realized was kind of baked into me somehow, and I wasn't even aware of it, was that Americans have trust issues. My host family that I was living with decided to make a very big purchase. In Turkmenistan, unlike in America, on your passport, you have your citizenship and you also have your ethnicity. And if your ethnicity is anything besides pure, they called it Chiste, Turkmen, then you have fewer privileges. There were certain things that you weren't entitled to. So my Uzbek host brother, who I lived with, who was my age, was really excited to go to college. So my host family had been saving up cash under their mattress, basically, since Bacher was little, to be able to pay for him to go to college. And it was something that they were really proud of and really excited about. And he had been studying for his entrance exams into university. And when he finally went and took his entrance exams, he passed, and he got a rejection letter back. And I don't honestly remember what the official reason was that he was turned down for medical school there. The real reason was because he wasn't ethnically the profile that they were looking for that school. My host family decided to take their newfound cash windfall and go to Azerbaijan to buy a car with it. So he leaves for Azerbaijan, and a week later he comes home, and there's no car with him. And so I asked him, I said, "Oh, did you not find anything you liked?" And he said, "Oh no, I found a car." And I said, "Oh, I thought you were going to drive it home. Where is it?" And he said, "Oh no, the guy who I bought it from said he'll drive it to Turkmenistan for me so that I don't have to, deal with the inconvenience." And I said, "Oh, is he going to bring it soon?" And Bacher said, "Well, I don't know, maybe like 3 weeks." And I'm like, "Okay. So do you have a paperwork or a promise note, or are you going to pay him when he brings it?" And he says, "No, I paid him for it already. I bought the car from him." And I said, "Okay, Bacher, did you give him all of the money for the car? All of it? Just give it to him?" And he said, "Yeah, that's how much the car cost. So I paid him for it. So it's my car now." And I said, "Okay, but you don't have a car. And you said this guy is going to drive the car here to you, 1,500 miles away?" And Bacher said, "Yeah." I'm like, "Aren't you worried at all that he might just take your money and not give you a car?" And Bacher said, "Well, no, he's Muslim. He's my brother. He wouldn't do that to me." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just telling you, I think he probably would do that to you, and I'm a little sad that you just lost $20,000. And Bacher said I was being silly, and we agreed to disagree. So 3 weeks came and went, and the car did not come. 4 weeks came and went, and the car did not come. And I'm feeling sick. I know how much this means to my family, how much that money meant to my family. That was supposed to be a college education. And at the very least, that was supposed to be a car, which is a status symbol in Turkmenistan. It's a sign of pride that you've been able to make something of yourself if you have a car. And so 5 weeks came and went, and there was still no car and no money. And I had no idea what my family was going to do if this random car salesman in Azerbaijan never showed up. So week 6, day 3, the car showed up with the car salesman from Azerbaijan who brought cookies for everyone. And nobody ever asked him why he was late, and he never said, and nobody ever mentioned that there was ever even a thought that he might not show up, because for them, religion is different. It's not somewhere you go to church once a week. They actually didn't go to church at all, my host family. It's more a way of being. So when they say they're Muslim, they are part of something. It's like being part of a really big family, and there's a lot of trust that comes with that. So I'm 31 now, and the very first time I left the United States was when I was 23. And if you think about the fact that from age 0 to age 23, I went nowhere outside of the United States, I think it's pretty impressive that from age 23 to age 31, I've had the opportunity to visit Norway. I've had the opportunity to visit France. I've gone to Ireland. I've gone to England. I've gone to Scotland. I've had these opportunities to not only vacation places, because I think there is a difference between traveling somewhere and going on a vacation. And I think that's what Turkmenistan really gave me a little bit of a bug for, is to seek out that travel experience, to really see the culture in a place, to really eat with your hands, if you will. Wanderlust. Isn't that a really wonderful word? We absolutely crave those rich experiences of being able to fully immerse yourself in a new place and to really truly live in the full breadth and depth of that culture.